Hey Zen family, do you know who this is? Of course you do. It's the awesome Kass Martin. But did you know that long ago, before she was the international globetrotting super zest that she is today, she used to be just a plain jammer back in Utah.
That's right.
So that's why I want to talk to her today, get her perspective on the whole jam program and let you hear what she has to think about it. But let's back up even further before that. So I've been to several trainings with her, so I know a bit about her story, her past. But
my dark super past.
You had never really intended on being a fitness instructor to begin with.
No. So my mom teaches step aerobics. My mom is a fantastic teacher, fantastic instructor, and I grew up with her hoping I would take over her class.
Right.
And I saw the amount of work that went into that, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
And fun fact, her mom's step aerobic DVDs were trainings from Steve Boot, actually.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That's what she wanted me. She showed me a DVD and said, this is going to be the DVD that gets you to teach. And it was Steve. But of course, I didn't know it was Steve then. But she thought that that would be the ultimate, look at this guy. He's going to motivate you.
Right.
You're going to want to teach group fitness classes. But even he couldn't do it, unfortunately, at that time. So, the truth is, before I started teaching, I don't know that I felt that comfortable being the spotlight.
Yep.
I was on a dance team in high school because I slept through soccer tryouts. And I did good in groups, and I never looked at myself as being a leader or driven or that motivated or that motivating. And with my mom having been such a great instructor, there was a high level of what I felt her students expected, and I did not want to need to live up to that. Yeah. So I decided, I don't think I'm going to do it.
It's like I've always said, I never will be number one, I won't be number two. There's no pressure.
Yeah, totally.
Everybody wants you to succeed, and it's like, I don't want to be the star, I'll be the best friend of the star.
That's
the star
exactly
can have all
what
the
you
pressure,
want.
and I'll just take along the free ride.
But there is a lot of truth and comfort to that.
Yeah.
So you surround yourself with people who motivate you, but that you don't have to always be the motivator.
Exactly.
But I have two kids. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. And when my 8-year-old was born, she cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And at that time, before her, I felt like I actually was a pretty good mom because my son did exactly what I told him to do.
First child luck.
He never cried. He slept. He ate whatever healthy food I put in front of him. And then when I had her, even in the hospital, she was fiery. And so I really needed something to make me feel successful in life again. She's grown up. She has the cutest personality in the world, But as an infant, when she couldn't tell me what she was thinking, that was difficult. And so I didn't first start with Zumba. I started actually with Hip Hop Hustle. And
Which seems weird because you do the country crazy session, so everybody thinks that that's what you're drawn into.
I know, right? Just what? Because I'm the girl from Utah, that I'm always country. Just assumed. But Hip Hop Hustle was kind of like a safe, dancey, but structured, and a hip hop that everybody could do. That was the basis around the name Hip Hop Hustle. But there were two things that didn't work for me with that. And every program, people have that program that totally works for them. But people were a little bit, they saw hip hop. And they're like, oh, I'm not a hip hop dancer. Like, my mom's not gonna go to a hip hop class, right? And I probably wouldn't even go to a hip hop class.
I know, I look silly trying to do it.
But they didn't realize that it was catered more toward you could do this at a wedding or a party, and then
almost like hip hop line dancing kind of.
Totally.
Yeah.
That was the premise behind it. And then also there was a lot of structure. So they gave you the music and they gave you the moves, and that was what you taught. Right. Which is great unless you don't feel comfortable with that move. And then I felt dorky with some of the moves. Yeah. And so but I couldn't change them. And so what I started to do was I started to create my own choreographies. stuff that I felt a little bit more like me on, and different songs even, because I couldn't listen to that same track for weeks and weeks.
Right.
And then I couldn't really call it Hip Hop Hustle anymore because I wasn't teaching Hip Hop Hustle. And, but I was subbing a class for the summer, and the girl came back. And so I had to give up the class. And I think the owner of the gym took pity on me and said, why don't you try Zumba? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And so I went to one class, and then I went to the training.
Wow.
And she paid for the training.
Wow.
Otherwise, I don't think I would have done it. I don't think I could have talked my husband into doing it. It's the truth. You know, we have young kids, and it was expensive, so I understand the sacrifice it takes when people come to training.
What was it that drew you into Zumba, though? Was it the music, or was it like, oh, there's this freedom in the format?
So I didn't even understand that part at it when my first class, my sister and I went to. And we'd been working out together for years.
Right.
Going to my mom's class, going to all different classes together. That was like our sister time.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to that class, and while we felt totally dorky at times, maybe the whole time, and I didn't know the moves right, I left being like, that was totally fun.
Yeah.
And that's not usually what has kept me coming back to the class. Usually like, oh yeah, I feel that burn, I'm so sweaty, that was a great release for the day, but I've never been like, that was so fun.
Yeah.
And so then I took the training that weekend, and it took what I experienced in that class and lit it on fire, because I understood more.
Right.
And I left saying in my brain, in my mind, that this is going to be something I'm passionate about.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think I'd ever even
Just off the bat.
totally, I never even used that term before, but I knew when I left there that I was going to do this.
Wait, what year was that in?
2008.
Okay, 2008.
So I did 3 months of the other format, and then I did 2008 to 2016. There's a difference, right?
And beyond. And beyond.
Yeah, I'm never quitting.
So what made you decide to become a jammer? How did that all happen?
So, since I had this thing I was passionate about, right? I really pushed myself to do as many classes as I could, to learn as much as I could. I studied my Zen volumes, where I would put a mirror next to the TV, and I would pause it, and I would do slow motion, and I really studied, like, how are they moving their bodies like that? Everything was very opposite for me, and my hips were like stuck. And I never thought that I would have a job with Zumba, because I knew that somebody that Zesses had a territory, and I knew that there was already somebody in Utah. And I knew that even
Who was your B1 person?
Lindsay Taylor.
Lindsay Taylor.
And she and I know, she's phenomenal, and I'll never forget that she did that for me.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
And the thing about Lindsay and Gina that cracked me up is you watch them, and it's just like, nothing.
Yeah, totally.
And then you do the choreo from the DVDs, and you're swinging like, oh my God, how's she doing that?
Yeah.
And
the difference of how I sweat and they sweat.
It's crazy.
I'm like, somebody poured a bucket of water over me, and Lindsay's like,
I know, and another thing
no
I love
sweat.
about her is everything looks so simple. Like, it just looks, you watch her choreographies, and it just looks like so basic, but when you do it, it's like, it's not basic.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it that you don't realize you're doing.
Yep. And I think that actually is part of the beauty in it, is that you take a move that it kind of tricks you, and then you think, oh, well, I want to push that more, because what I'm doing feels good, but what she's doing looks good.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
And then I thought, if she actually moved, she would still keep Utah as a territory, because her family's from Utah.
Yeah.
So I really thought that I would never be an education specialist, although that was my dream. Not for any other reason, but hopefully to make people feel like I felt in her training.
Yeah.
And to take a stay-at-home mom and give them something that they feel passionate about. I never wanted to even have a job.
Right.
I had a full-time job as a mom, but this was such a great way for me to find something to believe in myself outside of any other title that I had.
So what gave you the confidence? Because when you're an instructor in class, you have your same people, so you build your confidence over time because you have the same people usually, and there's so many of them there. When new people come, it doesn't faze you. But to go into a jam session, when you walk in, you may not know anybody there at all.
Totally.
What gave you the confidence to be like, okay, because especially having not been a fitness instructor background at all.
My sister is my best friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're together a lot. And she was like my own little sponsor. Like we'd be at Target and someone would be like, oh, you teach Zumba? And I was like, yeah, I do. I teach at this time at this gym. And she's like, no. She's amazing. You have to go to her class. And she really helped me believe in myself. And I have a couple of key people along the way who believed in me before there was anything to believe in.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend, Carolina Moreno, and she lives in Costa Rica, but she was one of my diehard students. And she would look at posters and TV, that should be you, diva, that should be you. She called me diva. And, but I knew that I wanted to push myself. And I knew that you will never get an opportunity you don't go for it.
Right.
And if I didn't get it,
right. No harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul. But if I don't go for it, I'll always wonder.
Right.
And so I started to feel more confident, and I taught at actually 3 different locations. And I subbed a lot, and then I saw that there was a call for a Zumba Jammer, and I was like, I don't even know what that is. What is this? But I had been hosting little jam sessions.
Right.
With me and some of the other Zen members before there was a jam program. That's why they came out with it.
Right.
And so we would do that very same thing. We'd all bring choreography and then we'd work together. So it didn't seem like it was actually that far off of what I was doing.
Right.
And so I went for it.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. I'll never forget that I hadn't heard anything from Zumba on if I got it or not. And it was St. Patrick's Day. Because I remember I was wearing green.
Mm-hmm.
And I just found out that there was a mass on my dad's brain.
Oh.
And I was sitting in the driveway waiting for my sister, and we were going up to the hospital. This was a dark day. And I got an email that said you'd been passed through the next level of audition process. And I had a series of things that I needed to do, but it was almost like, hey, life is rough, but there are things for you. Mm-hmm. And so I never really looked back. It was kind of like, not, am I going to do it? It's, of course you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's my little...
That's her story.
That's my story.
So, I'm very passionate about the jam program because for me as an instructor, it has changed so much for me because I go to so many sessions and I go to so many different styles of people.
Yeah.
I get a lot of compliments back on my classes from people, because, one, it really reinforces your pro skills.
Yep.
The cueing. My cueing is so much sharper now, especially if taking pro skills twice. And then, but the jam sessions, I've really amped up on how many I've gone to in the last year. I'm just cueing so much better because you're practicing while you're doing.
This is what I'm doing. I'm cueing so
here.
much better.
Right?
Do you see this? Even when I'm talking, I'm
my
cueing better.
I get a lot of compliments on my cueing.
Yeah.
You're like, you're so easy to follow.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons I go. But also because there's so many different people, I get so many different styles, so many different ways of moving, and people never know what I'm going to bring next. Because it's not, it's great to do your own choreography, but if you don't push yourself and challenge yourself, your stuff can all start to look the same. You start to use the same moves over and over, you start plugging in.
Even if you are the best choreographer, even Beto gets ideas from other people.
Yeah,
he works with
things.
someone to get their choreography ideas, and then he makes the final call.
Right.
But when the creator himself gets ideas from other people and has them help him with choreography, because that is the exact, you are the perfect example of somebody who values education.
Mm-hmm.
And when you value education, you grow.
Right.
Knowledge is power. The more you learn, the more you grow. And it doesn't matter if you're the best choreographer in the world, you would still go to choreography sessions and different camps.
Moves,
yeah.
right.
And I think that we, as a whole in Zumba, minimize the importance of continuing education. So it doesn't matter if you're going to teach gold or if you never are going to teach aqua or kids, you should go to learn. And jam sessions are a live version of a Zen volume. Because we were just saying how you feel detached from a Zen volume. You're sitting there watching it and expecting to be inspired. Right? When you go to a jam session, it's a live version of it, so it's just giving you more options. And I use routines from jam sessions all the time. She does. All the time.
She does. I saw the jam session I went to where she actually showed up to. Then a couple weeks later on Facebook, there's somebody posted a video. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's the exact same stuff I'm doing.
Totally. But that's the idea. Is I have seen instructors who think that they're as good as they're going to get, or they don't need this person. I'm a better dancer than this person, or I'm a better, my classes are more successful than this person. Why would I go learn from them? But that is the opposite mentality. And if you're always looking for how you can personally grow on any level, then you will never be passed up, because the second you think you learned it all, you're dead. You're dead in the water. You have to think of a boat, okay? And even about a tiny leak, like in a little imperfection, you have to keep those motors pushing you along, right? Moving, growing. But if you stayed stagnant, then all of a sudden that little imperfection becomes a real problem. And I go to jam sessions. I don't go to as many trainings as I wish I really could, because it just so happens we're doing them on the same day. And I gotta work too. But I go to other people's classes. I teach, but I have to always be a student. And I was saying how I'm lucky to be able to work, I work with Steve a lot. You know that tall guy from Belgium, Steve? And we're always challenging each other. Always. I'll look at him and I'll be like, I don't like that move. Or I think that this cue would make more sense. The transition from that move to the next doesn't make sense to me. And there are times where we're like, no, I'm not changing it. And there's times where it's like, okay, let's change it then. And so you want to always be pushing yourself in that way.
Oh, totally.
But that is just how you are, though. You are such an example of this. But that is how it doesn't matter if you could dance salsa with the best professional salsa dancers out there. We are not performers. We are not dancers. We are instructors. We are teachers. And the best instructor, one of the best instructors I've ever seen, was actually a jammer. And it was not the Z factor. It was not the personality or moves or outfits or any of those kind of things that made me fall in love with her. It was her cueing let every single person know what they were supposed to do. And there was no question what the move was. And in jam sessions, they also take it from a foundation level, and then you add on variations.
Take it back to core steps.
Because if you're adding all these frills and bells and whistles, then people just stop and they're like, okay, I got to figure out what this move is. What is it? I'm looking at feet. I'm looking at hips. I'm looking at shimmy. I'm looking at hands.
That's the thing people always forget, is that you always teach to the first timer.
Totally.
Your front row people know what to do, and I encourage them. I talk, because before classes I'm talking to them. Like I pick up one choreography from a jam session, and it has a turn as the third level progression in it, and I don't do it the first couple times because it freaks people out, because it's a very fast turn. But there's a lady in the front who does it every time. Or she did it one time, she kind of like pulled back. And I'm like, no, do it. And I told her, I said, no. I said, if you're feeling it, go for it. So you know who you're going to inspire in the room.
And that's how I have my little front row divas too. And I know no matter what, the first time they are learning it, they're going to be learning it. Then on Thursday, after I've already introduced it, they're doing the highest level with adding all different variations and style and flavor.
And that's what it's about.
Totally.
That's totally what it's about.
But then me as the instructor, I'm like, oh, they look like they're having so much fun over there. As I'm like rigidly cueing. But when you bring inspiration from other people, when you learn even the way that they cue it, it just helps you have control over the class. And if you have control over the class, you can really modify it so that everybody is successful.
Right.
If people are feeling successful, they're coming back, then you're succeeding, Zumba's succeeding, and then we can continue doing this.
That's what I like to tell people about jam sessions. Jammers don't do what they do to be the rock star.
No.
They're doing this to make you successful. That's their goal, because if you're not successful what they bring, then no one's going to come back to their sessions. And then you take that and you make your classes feel successful by using the methods they used to teach you. Because if you break the things down, you show us core steps, you add a little bit more, then you go crazy. So everybody in the room can get it, everybody feels successful.
Yep.
And those are the people who want to come back, and then your classes start to grow. So that's,
you know, I think the key to teaching is always, it's not what I can show them that I can do, because nobody cares. It's what I can show them that they can do without me. Not to say that I just stop and watch, because that's a little bizarre.
right.
But I want, and that also goes for Zen volumes, that also goes for jam sessions. I want to have a routine that they can teach without me, that their students can do without them. And when it's too complicated, then it's too complicated. And those kind of are reinforced when you go to jam sessions or when you go to trainings. You see that there is success with simplicity.
Yeah.
Because people can add their own flavor.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the favorite things they do at jam sessions too, is you add certain songs that are high intensity, they'll add a crazy high intensity move, and they'll tell you, don't do this the first few times you do the class. Pull it out a month later, pull it out 6 weeks later when you're starting to get tired of the song, pull this crazy move out, and people are like, whoa, what just happened?
This feels
and
brand
it
new.
refreshes it all over again.
Yeah.
So you get that kind of stuff out of jam sessions, how to keep your step fresh and not have to constantly turn it. You get pulled into new styles, new genres. And there's things like you get the mega mixes and you listen to them and you're kind of like, eh.
Totally.
Then you go to a jam session, you're like, oh great, they pulled that song. And then you go do the choreography, you're like, oh my god, I love this song so much now.
Totally. Think of like Celine Dion CD, or how about any artist. You know, back in the day when you had to go and actually buy a physical CD, and you had to listen to all the tracks as you just spent all your money on that one CD, there were songs where you're like, skip, and then after you start listening to it, you're like, And again, it doesn't matter what music I like.
Yeah.
It matters what music my students like, and how will I know if I don't try that? And surely when you listen to that CD, there's some people who are like, oh yeah, number 4 was the best. Number 9 for sure, I'm bringing that to my class. But it's not only doing what catches our ear, it's doing hopefully what will catch your students' ear.
Right.
And if you're always teaching for them, there's no question in what your success will be, because you're catering it to them. Jam sessions, for a long time, I was unable to get to them, because again, usually they're on weekends when I'm working. But there have been times where it's like I have a day in between trainings, or even if it's like a nighttime, or if I had a training that I thought I was going to do and didn't end up doing it anyway, I leave being like, and this is the reason why Zumba has this program.
And you never know when she'll pop into one.
That's right.
And when she is there, it just makes it even much crazier, because she's crazy.
I'm a little bit crazy.
A little bit. There's one other thing I wanted to tell people about that I've learned from you over the past couple of years that you've been RZS in Texas. And I'd like to share with a lot of new instructors, it's what I call the gospel of Kass Martin, of how to format a class. And since I started following what you do, I've noticed my classes are so much better, that people like them better, and I get more compliments on it. So, your warm-up, which is always about the length of 3 songs, 9 to 12 minutes, which you always do your step touch, cardio, and toning. Then you always start your class with the 4B1 rhythms.
Yep.
So you always do merengue first out, because it's usually a faster rhythm. Then you'll do salsa, because it comes down a little bit. Then reggaeton, then cumbia, so you're starting the interval training thing. And then you add in just various different genres, trying to stick to only using one genre each one time.
Yep.
If you have people who really love a certain field, something like who love salsa so much, then you can use like a salsa-ton that's maybe a little heavier on the salsa later in the playlist. So you give them that salsa flavor again, and then you wind the class down with kind of a a pre-cool down song to start bringing the tempo down, and then an actual cool down stretch song. And that, you know, and when you take out the warm up, those first 4 songs in your cool down material, that doesn't leave very much to fill in. So It's not that hard to really fill it in with a bunch of different genres to really make the class a trip around the world. So, you know, that's how she does her classes. If you've ever been to a master class with Kass, you know how much fun you have. No one ever walks away going, well, that was a waste of money.
Otherwise, we kill you!
That's right. So, you know, that's how she does hers. So I want everybody to know that. You know, think about that when you're setting up your playlist. It's a smart way to make your students' house have a wide variety so you can appeal to every single person in the classroom. Other things I've heard you say too is, you know, you do your class with continuous mixed music. You have your songs crossfade into each other, which if you're using an iPod, you can turn crossfade on, it'll crossfade. And the reason is because you don't want those gaps in class because it zaps the energy. The heart rate comes down too low. People stand around, people talk, people go get drinks of water. It breaks their workout time. You're not going to get the maximum workout from being in your class. Also, you said don't take requests from people during class.
Yeah, you're in charge of your class.
You're in charge. It's your class. You do what you want. You know, and that's why if I have people ask me for songs, I'm like, oh, I don't have it in my playlist today, but remind me at the end of class, and I'll set it up and I'll do it for you next time. And that way, because when you do that, you're catering to certain people in the class, and then you're excluding so many people, and that makes them not want to come back.
You know, and I think that also when you take requests, I'm not prepared with that song.
Right.
And so it kind of rattles me a little bit because I'm actually thinking about it before it's coming because I'm like, do I even remember that? And then I don't think that I'm as effective. And if it's like, hey, I love that song, and I do want to do it, I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be super fun, then of course I would do it. But we have to really take ownership of the class. And that means that you come prepared. That means that you stay with the Zumba structure of how you structure your class. And that means that it's okay if not everybody likes every song. It's okay if not everybody likes everything that you do, because they won't. So you got to get over that. But if you have a very cumbia dominant class, then what about the people where cumbia is, not to say that they don't like cumbia, maybe it's the rhythm that they don't feel comfortable with.
Right.
They're like, oh, my hips just don't do that. Okay, or if you love samba, and you like nailed the samba moves, well, what good is it if everybody else can't do it?
Unless you're from Brazil, you're never gonna get samba.
I mean, come on!
Just be happy with what you got.
And even then, you don't want to throw too much in, even if that's like your jam. There are songs that I love, but I don't put them in every time. Like I teach crazy country at convention along with other classes, but I don't have a country song every week.
Right.
I have one every once in a while because if I have my structure of my class, merengue, salsa, cumbia, reggaeton, and then I can add in a variety of other rhythms, flamenco, tango, quebrita, soca, samba, belly dance. I can add in a bongra, I can add in an oldies. But if I'm gonna do like a one American rhythm or like Western rhythm, I don't want it to every time be country. Right. You know, so that I could do hip hop, I could do swing, I could do country.
Plain old pop song.
Totally. You know, so I really try and make it so that everybody, and I think of different ages too, have where they're like, that's my jam.
Right.
And I've had people tell me that certain songs are not their jam.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I say, oh, well, I'm not catering the whole class to you, and that's okay. You can go to the bathroom or take a drink or go to somebody else's class. But I don't take offense to it because surely there are songs where I'm like, eh.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay. That's why we're all so diverse. That's why, especially like in Texas, you have so many different jammers.
A lot of good ones.
A lot of different styles.
Never been to a bad one, ever.
Yeah. And if you're learning, then you're growing. So that's the whole point of the jam session. That's the whole point of trainings. I love when I see people retake a basic one. As I said, remember you get half off. And I retook a basic one and I was like, even though it wasn't new material, I was like, this is all brand new. Because you cannot retain that much information.
Oh no, and it's eye-opening because you go back and you're like, oh, things you didn't think about, little techniques, little things, it catches you.
Even I don't ever really remember like if I should have faced the students or not. I don't remember that from my B1. I didn't remember really the structure of the warm-up.
Right.
I remembered the feeling that I had, and that was enough to carry me into wanting to learn more.
even better, take it with a different zest.
Totally.
I mean, because I took my original with Julie
How
Kelly.
dare you.
I took my original with Julie Kelly. I took the second time I took B1s with you and Steve. And now Loretta's coming back, and you guys are going to do it again in April. And I'm thinking about taking it again that time, just because to get her take on the way she does everything. You see so much more by retaking it, and by taking it with different people, it's a completely different experience. And what's really funny is, the first time you take B1, it's such an overwhelming experience. The second time you take it, you're like, I'm not even tired.
Totally.
Let's go dance for 5 more hours.
I'm up for it. Yep, it's so true. It's true.
So that's really what I wanted you guys to hear from Kass today. The Jam program is one of the most amazing things. It really reconnects you with your B1 skills, your base skills to make your classes successful. She was a jammer. She loves the program. She's always at jam sessions. She uses jam session materials. This is the person who's featured on Zen Volumes and has to write her own choreography. She doesn't have to go use some else's material, but she does, because it's high quality stuff. And the jam session people, the jammers are very well vetted. They go through a very stringent process to get in. I mean, there's several of them who I've talked to who have said they didn't get in their first time, they didn't get in their second time.
Yeah.
It took them several times of having to get the rejections and figure out how to make things work, and that's made them grow and become as good as they are.
I like that. That's true.
So, you've heard from Kass. You know she goes to jam sessions, so you should too.
Be there.
That's it. So thank you for everything.
Of course.
And everybody, please join the jam.
Join the jam.
Yay!